Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And with all the discussion about Clayster potentially getting back a spot in the league, could Seattle Surge be his home? He reckons that because of the relationship with Mack that was absolutely soured beyond belief on the subliners last year, then maybe that opportunity has left the station. Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Thought this is funny first of all, actually from Los Angeles. Did a really cool video yesterday, basically like recreating kind of funny, famous Call of Duty moments by acting them out. Thought it was kind of good stuff, to be honest, for the guys. This, though, we want to talk about what Censor had to say about the upcoming Call of Duty. Thought this kind of incredible, actually, here from Birdman, just because we've got this is what used to be the case back in the day. If you guys remember this stuff, this is Black Ops 2, the personalization packs. These were only $2, apparently. Like, I feel like that's just incredibly good value for money. Like, you could buy these personalization packs. You got, like, a calling card. You got an emblem, I think. Of course, you got the camos on all the weapons in the entire game. Pretty sure I got the Afterlife one, the UK Punk one, the weaponized one. I don't think I bought the Dead Man's Hand one or the Octane one, but the Beast one I definitely got as well, because that had like an awesome, it was like a tiger calling card with it. These were so cheap and so cool. The promotion for them was really cool as well back in the day, if you guys experienced that one. And then today you've got this. This apparently is $40. I don't know if you guys can't quite see it on the left-hand side. I'll just bring it up on the screen. Apparently this is $40 for this, and you like only get the camo on like one gun. Like, I don't know. They just fell off massively is all I'm going to say on this front. Like, they used to do microtransactions or DLC type stuff much better than they do today. That's just my opinion. Censor does seem to agree here in the replies, to be honest. As he says, like, you know, those packs are actually fire $2 as well. My biggest issue with the new stuff is, one, it's not as good looking, and two, it's only for select guns. Not a fan. Something else that Censor apparently is not a particularly big fan of are the sources that are telling him what's going on about Modern Warfare 2. Of course, this upcoming year's Call of Duty game. Censor usually incredibly positive and optimistic about the potential of the new title. He actually says right here that he's still cautiously optimistic, but his sources have told him this year's game is absolutely terrible. Now, we can theorize here in a second what sources those might actually be, and whether they're kind of aligned for the more casual perspective or the more competitive perspective, but I'll share the clip.
How we feel about MW2? So, from my sources, the game's shit. That's my sources. I'm not leaking my sources, but I heard the game is shit. And it's from sources I trust, so I'm cautiously optimistic, because you guys know I'm always optimistic about the new COD. I'm cautiously optimistic this year.
So we saw a couple of weeks ago now, this is on, the 26th of April here, we've got Zuma, we've got, of course, Methods and Asim out in Los Angeles. A few of the pros flew out there, Methods, Asim, pretty sure Zero flew out there as well, maybe a couple of others, to playtest the new Call of Duty title, Modern Warfare 2. Now, usually after these playtests go down, like we see some tweets from these guys being like, oh, you're in for a good year or something. Now, I don't know if they're really going to do that anymore, just because it's too obvious, like, that they've just been, I don't know, not paid off necessarily, but you know what I mean. Like, usually that's how it goes, the players playtest the game, they say it's really good, turns out not necessarily to be the case. However, we really didn't see much from these guys after the fact. Didn't really tweet out too much about it, to be honest. Like, there were some implications that they were out there, but outside of that, didn't really sell that much. So maybe they weren't particularly happy with the way the game was going. And if you have to wonder what sources Censor has on this situation, it's more than likely going to be some of the pros that actually play tested the game a couple of weeks ago, right? Maybe Censor does have like some internal guys in Infinity Ward that are telling him that the game's coming along badly, but more than likely it's the actual pros that played the game a couple of weeks ago that have had a few words to their other pros behind the scenes, and word has got around to, Doug and Martin, let's just say that this game is, not necessarily shaping up particularly well. Of course, it could be another classic Modern Warfare year where we're from 2019, where the game is, not great for competitive, but is actually really popular with more casual players, and therefore it does bring in new audiences, but, who really knows? But in fairness, this might somehow work out, because usually Doug says something like this, Vanguard is the best comp we've ever had, can't wait for November, it's my year, but, of course, it necessarily didn't really work out as planned, let's just say. So maybe, Doug being a little bit more negative on the game, or a little bit less optimistic, let's just say, can actually be a good thing, even though I'm not really sure that logic actually worked out at all. But yeah, intriguing perspective, to be honest. Hopefully it's not as bad as maybe some of these pros seem to think initially. Maybe they just got to play some terrible maps. But if we have to play 2 years of a game worse than Vanguard, it's going to be tough. Now let's talk about the Clayster situation then. So yesterday we did mention briefly the kind of scrims they had up against London. I only mentioned the hard points, I believe. Turns out there was actually some search and destroys they played as well. Still, I'm pretty sure they split the search and destroys. Berlin, Tuscan went the way of Clay's team. That of course being Clay, Fellow, Johnny and Ghosting. And then Desert Siege and Bocage goes the other way. So I'm pretty sure 5-3 map count to Clayster and the guys, which is, well, pretty impressive all things considered. Generally does seem, you put Clay with kind of like another maybe veteran player, like Fellow with a couple of young guys, Johnny and Ghosty, and he's going to get the best out of them, right? And well, Octane firstly said this, I thought was pretty funny. His first thoughts after losing the grand finals to the New York Subliners and Crimsix at the Pro Am Classic, like his first thoughts were not, okay, yeah, GG's guys, tough luck, like, let's try and figure out what we did wrong and go again next time for the Major 3 qualifiers and for the Major 3 in general, but it was actually more about Clayster and Neptune, who after getting dropped from the team, now will find their stock maybe at an all-time bottom, and probably Neptune especially.
First thought in my head, damn, Clay and Nep. Dude. Oh. Literal first thought. That's not an exaggeration. It wasn't like, damn, good try, guys. We lost grand finals. It was literally, damn, Clay and Nep. That feels so bad, bro. Truly feels so bad.
I gotta say, the story of what Crim's done in this team, like when you look at it from certain angles, is kind of incredible in a way, and Clayster maybe needs to start learning not to bring Crim6 along to his teams, just because we saw in, of course, Dallas Empire Modern Warfare, when, Clay and Crim get together at the end of the year, it's Clayster that gets dropped from that team, he goes elsewhere. Same thing you could argue from Complexity back in the day as well, where Crim6 stayed, Clayster got dropped, mainly by X, actually, in that situation. Karma came in, this back in, start of 2013, pretty much, but even most recently, right, when Crim6 comes into his team, takes Clayster's superstar Hydra away from him, drops Clayster, gets rid of Neptune, and all of a sudden is winning an event. So I'm sure Clay isn't necessarily too happy with effectively Crim6 just hijacked his team, but certainly I think it probably looks worse on Neptune than it does on Clayster, just because Clayster came out for a while, and they really didn't look particularly improved with Neptune back in the roster at all, and then, things pretty much still collapsed for them at Major 2, for example, and then since Kismet, they've, looked much better all across the board. And that was the talk we had yesterday. Is it possible that Seattle Surge could consider a move for a guy like Clayster? Because accuracy right now, the big talking point was, is he the guy that they still want to have going forwards? And of course, Clayster's sitting there on the bench. He's trying to get a spot on the starting team. He's proving, seemingly with a Johnny, Ghosty, Fellow, and these guys, that he can compete and still shoot very straight indeed in some of the scrims that they've played the last few days, and he's streaming them and all this type of stuff, which is great to see. But again, Seattle, after going 0-3, not winning a respawn, losing to Strike X of all teams at the Prime Classic, definitely didn't put them in the best position, and this is kind of their schedule going forward as well. They play, in theory, not the hardest teams in the world, but still, of course, it's only starting in a few days' time, not all that long to actually figure things out. But contractually, if Seattle did want to bring Clayster on as kind of like a loan situation, when they take his contract over or they take his salary over from the subliners, they might be able to make something like that work if they wanted to give it a go. This is what Clayster says though on the matter. He's not convinced that actually the team wants to play with him. He says he would love to play with Sib, he would love to play with AG, that being Pred, but Mack, after their experience last year on the subliners, probably never wants to play with him ever again, and he might not blame him for doing so, and I'll share some of the clips.
Actually, he was dropped. I don't think Mack ever wants to play with me ever again, dude. I'd love to team with Dante and Mack and Pred again. Or I'd instant team with Dante and Pred and Mack again, but I don't think Mack wants to team with me. I know Dante and AG I think like me, but I don't really know if Mackenzie would ever team with me ever again. And I don't blame him.
We gotta sit down and talk about how to play Control. It's just pathetic. It's like, did you guys not play Black Ops 4? Like,
I was working at Domino's.
If you guys have never seen that final clip before as well from Black Ops Cold War, that might be just like a small snippet into kind of what Clayster's talking about here, and hopefully you can actually hear it, because I think there was some music playing and maybe the audio wasn't particularly good because I have to cut it out and stuff like this, so hopefully it was just about audible. But yeah, basically what Clayster said is like, look, I don't think Mack ever wants to play with me again, and I can't really blame him after what happened on the subliners last season. And maybe that final clip, like the whole Domino's clip, which I still think is hilarious, when he's like, look, do you guys not know how to play Control? What were you doing in Black Ops 4? And Mack's like, I was working at Domino's, mate, like, what do you expect me to do? And maybe that's just a small inkling and a small insight into kind of how things were going on that subliners team last year, and how frustrating it was to team with Clayster. And Clayster admits himself that he wasn't the greatest teammate at the end of last season on that Black Ops Cold War game. That's why like Asim and Mack and these guys maybe don't really want to play with him anymore. And it's funny because not too long ago there was all this talk about the fact that subliners were super hard, regretting the fact that okay, they got rid of Asim, they got rid of Mack, and they went to other teams, and like obviously Asim has won an event since then, and Mack has been looking very good on Seattle, and maybe to a degree they did regret those changes, but since then they've obviously done pretty well the last few weeks with the Kismet and Porlex moves that Crim6 and Hydra have managed to make work on that roster this past weekend. But yeah, that is the thing, like if Clayster wants to make a move, like it's almost like a parasite situation in a way, not to the same extreme, but like if you're burning bridges to a degree with some of the younger, more talented players in the scene, then when opportunities might come along, and like maybe Sib and Pred are sitting there thinking, what, this accuracy guy, he's drawing 0.8s in hard points, like what's he doing, we need to upgrade him. And then maybe Sib and Pred are thinking, okay, Clayster could be an option to consider, maybe the management are talking about the opportunities, is like, okay, do we want to make a change, guys? And then Mack is like, look, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want to play with Clayster again. I don't think it's going to be great for our team environment. I think accuracy is better in this way and this way. And then kind of vetoes the move. Then, you know, it's not going to happen for Clay, right? So it does put him in a bit of a predicament. I still think that he could potentially improve that Seattle roster, to be honest. But yeah, seems like the kind of, well, past experiences maybe that Mack had had with Clayster last year hasn't necessarily given them the best chance of going forward as well. So interesting situation, I thought. This also just to mention real quick, actually, from Clayster, as he says, like, well, as Jaden says, you can do whatever you set your mind to, except to get a starting spot, apparently. So still, as of yesterday, like, yeah, nothing really doing for Clayster in terms of getting a starting spot. And that's the thing, there isn't all that much turnaround time, to be honest, here, because it's only a couple of days away. The Major 3 qualifiers begin. The qualifiers run for 3 weekends in a row, and then the weekend after that is straight to Toronto for the Major. So, like, look, teams could still make changes within these weeks, but any blockbuster moves are probably going to have to wait till after the Stage 3 Major, or after Major 3, because there's another couple of weeks off, I'm pretty sure, before the Major 4 qualifiers begin. So that really is the last and final call if teams want to make moves, I think. I'm not really sure anything drastic is going to happen over these coming changes, outside of what we maybe saw with Optic slightly earlier on today. Even as kind of Crimsic said at the time, he believes that Clayster does deserve another spot. He believes he should get another chance elsewhere. Paris could give him a go, but of course Gravity, but looking pretty good over there. There's few options that actually make sense right now for Clayster. Seattle might be the most sensible one, but apparently that's not going to happen. Just to mention this as well, as we kind of close out the video here, decided to come up with their power rankings. Thought this is kind of interesting. I often think that these power rankings are slightly too reactive to like what's happened recently, and maybe that's the case here, just, you know, putting Thieves up to 4th. Then again though, in fairness, I think this is probably in a way justified. I'm not saying this is all perfect, but just because Optic and FaZe I think is still number 1, number 2, I think I would put Optic 1 now, given, I mean, look, they've beaten FaZe 4 times this season. You can't really have FaZe number 1 on that metric. But after that, really, with Boston and LAG falling off, like, I mean, Boston, for example, being down in 5th now, probably makes sense because they did lose to Los Angeles at this event. New York Subliners win the entire thing, and it's like, look, I'd like to put some other teams up there on a more consistent basis, but like, you know, outside of Optic and FaZe, probably this is about reasonable, really, because London has seemingly fallen off quite a bit lately. Florida Mutineers, they're like, you know, they're very much up and down. Ultra are making some progress, but maybe there is a world out of some of these bottom tier rosters, like at 9th through 12th, where actually Clayster could find a situation, because with 0 now on an SMG, and like, I'm pretty sure London at the start of Modern Warfare wanted to get Clayster, so I don't know if there's any world in which London Clayster can happen. Maybe not this season, but I feel like it's difficult to really roll out all that much if teams really want to roll the dice going into, well, Major 4 and the World Championship. This also, I did say I would talk about this yesterday, as the TacticalRab Academy point out, with Hydra getting his first chip now, who is currently the best player without one. Rather interesting, actually, because TacticalRab Academy say, okay, maybe Skies, like with the online home series and stuff. I think Carla's a good answer in Afro, probably, to be honest, because if you think of the league, there's a lot of players now, you know, even guys like Asim, right, who like, you know, if you look at your top 10 players in the game right now, like, there's very few on there that haven't won a championship in their career. Afro probably is the best bet. But I'm very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tell us your YouTube gods, it's a good video, and also like you should see it as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you guys as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.